This morning I'm going to be talking to Megan, who's actually in New Jersey, in the US. So it's good evening to all you US ladies, but good morning to the other lot of us who live down under. I am Miriam Smout, founder and creator of Redemption Mummas, a space where women can come for mentoring and we journey together to bring some healing into some heart issues and deep wounds in our lives. And on that journey, it enables a reclaiming of personal power and unlocking of destiny in our lives. And I'm excited to share with Megan because she has really stepped into a new space in her own journey to now be mentoring and counselling other women. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on heart issues, which can be a multitude of things, but there's two major heart issues that tend to be overarching many of the things we're faced with, and that is rejection and abandonment. And these can come from way back early days in our childhood. Many times, life experiences bring us into places that as we get older, we believe lies about ourselves, that we are nothing, we're not worth anything, that no one cares about us, and we've just been abandoned all our lives, rejected. And so the pattern and the cycle repeat, on rinse and repeat. And that's where I needed help. And I have beautiful mentors in my life that when I get stuck in those cycles and the hard issues of rejection and abandonment try to, resurface or to speak to me in the current circumstances I find myself in, I'm so grateful to have some tools and to have some strategies and to have people in my life that can encourage me and take me on that journey of healing. So today, Megan and I met several years ago online, and I'm going to bring you in, Megan. Let's meet you. Good morning, good evening.
Good evening, good morning, evening for me, morning for you.
Yeah. So, Megan, you are now counselling, speaking beautiful words of healing into the lives of those you encounter. And that is just so exciting that your life journey has now got such a beautiful focus to bring healing to others. But let's just jump right into the deep end, shall we? And this whole issue of rejection and abandonment, this is something that I know for me, I had to dive deep into. Both of those issues manifested in my life. But for you, is rejection and abandonment something that you've encountered, you've had to journey through, find healing in? How's
100%. Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. And so, we don't wake up one day and go, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing rejection, I'm experiencing abandonment. For you, how did that awareness start to come?
Like that I was struggling with it, you mean? Like how did I become aware of that?
Yeah.
I think I became aware of it. It's actually a good question. When did I first become aware of it? I would say probably when I first went to counseling for myself. That would be I would think I was aware of maybe what was going on inside, but I didn't know that it was like rejection or fear of rejection, that kind of thing. So that's probably where it was. Yes, that's where it was like first pointed out to me. And I was like, oh, that's what you call that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So that was.
And so what sort of life experiences maybe that you feel comfortable to share contributed to rejection manifesting in your life, or abandonment, or both?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm able to see it was like a slow build. So my biological dad was never still to this day, isn't in my life. I've actually never met him. And so that, and then like the pregnancy that my mom had with me, there was lots of turmoil going in. So I think even like in the womb and very young, the enemy tried to wreak havoc. And so I have like a whole story with that the Lord showed me that I can share if you want me to. But anyway, so
Yeah.
seeds of rejection were planted young. And then I wouldn't say it was like this massive overtaking issue in my life growing up. Like it didn't control my life is what I mean. But I can look back and remember like, oh, I remember feeling this way, like feeling less than, or feeling rejection, or whatever it may be, or feeling worthless, or not knowing my identity. And then when I was 18, I experienced probably the deepest rejection I've ever experienced in my entire life. So long story short, I grew up in a extremely close-knit church that had some very great things about it, but it had become cult-like in some ways. And I was there from the time I was 3 months old till I was almost 19. And these people were more your family than your blood family was. And so it's too long of a story to get into, like definitely fault on my end. I was a kid, pretty much 18, but I lost every single relationship, like no exaggeration, every single relationship that I had there, other than my grandmother, because she does go there. And it literally felt like my life got flipped and like a bucket, all the water being poured out, or like then I had moved to a foreign country and knew no one, even though I hadn't moved. So that was when I would say rejection like took over my life. And then it was like became a life controlling issue.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So I love the way you said the seeds were sown, like way back at the beginning, because for any child, not knowing your dad, that's something to come to terms with. And then once the seed had been planted, it just needed an opportunity for, the enemy to push that door open and go, yeah, have a whole lot more of this.
Yeah.
How did it impact you? Like, looking back over those years, how do you see that it sort of framed your life up in a way that maybe could have been different had that not been there?
Yeah. I mean, so I grew up with a single mom and no siblings. So part of how like things got planted early was, well, there's something wrong with me because I don't have a dad. And even I don't know if I felt like there was something wrong with me, but somehow I was less than because I didn't have siblings. So that was kind of how it got planted early on based on family or lack of like traditional family structure.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question on that?
Yeah.
And I have something else I could say about that, but I don't want to derail us.
Oh, no. Whatever's on your heart, please feel free to share.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I might be like jumping ahead a little bit, but it was such a big key for me, and I want to share it just in case it's a key for anyone else. So like what I had, once I started going to counseling and even doing like inner healing and deliverance, and I had probably renounced rejection a million times and done prayer and all this kind of stuff, and it was still like this, it just felt like this hopeless area of my life. I'm like, and I would get, it's not like I wasn't getting any breakthrough, but I'm like, what on earth, like over the course of years. And I got to one point where I was like fed up in a good way, where I was like, that's it. And I went on, I did, I think I did like a 2-week fast. I just picked a couple things to fast. I didn't like not eat anything because I was like, this needs to get out of my life. Like, Lord, we got to do this. And so then I fasted, and then it was a couple weeks after the fast, I think at that time I was taking a class actually on deliverance, and they were talking about how spirits can come in the womb. So essentially, if people are saying like, I'm born with something, you may have actually been born with something, but it's still not you.
Mm.
And that kind of had struck me. And so I was like, interesting. And so, okay, it's like a couple weeks after this fast, and I'm actually just driving home from work. And I just started to think, I guess I started to think about that concept, like, oh yeah, like things can come in the womb. And the only way I can describe it, it was like in my mind's eye, I felt like the Lord, I wasn't even like, oh, Lord, give me a picture. I was just driving and I felt like he gave me a picture, and I could see myself almost like as like a 3-year-old or something. And I could see the emotion of rejection, and I could see myself and the emotion of rejection, and it wasn't mine, but it was sitting in me. And in that, it was like this moment of revelation. Like he didn't even say anything. All he had to do was show me that picture. And all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, oh, I have not been able to get free because I have thought these emotions were me, and they weren't. And so in my car, I was like, in the name of Jesus, I think I like rolled down my window. I was like, get out of me, get out of my emotions. I was like renouncing rejection because I could finally see it. I finally fully see that even these emotions that I thought were mine because I had experienced them like my entire life, that it wasn't me and it had just been planted super early. And I got like a little bit nauseous, and I do deliverance for other people. On myself, I don't usually experience getting nauseous. I got a little bit nauseous and I was like, oh dear Jesus. And I was in the car. I was like, Lord, just please, can you wait till I get home and I will throw up? But I didn't end up throwing up. Anyway, I remember I got home and I think I just prayed a little bit more, and I sat on my couch, and it was like I felt blank in a good way. And I was like, oh my gosh. But and then the Lord, then from there, became very aware of the thought processes that had built up around this demonic structure. And so it was like, okay, now you got to change the way that you think, because that can be an inroad to come back. But one of the biggest keys for me getting free of rejection was realizing that the emotion wasn't my own emotion. It was actually the emotion of a demonic spirit.
Wow. Wow. I love the way the thought process is built up around that false thing, that false thing. And it was just reflecting to you lies.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, as you say, we believe them and start to think, oh, this is who I am. I am just this person that no one wants, or no one likes, or no one cares about, or it's such an incredible thing that drives down deep, deep, deep. So in terms of the impact that it had on your heart, how do you see the consequences of this sort of worked out prior to getting that deliverance and getting that freedom? What was happening to sort of bring you to that place of like, I've had enough, I'm over this, I want freedom?
Yeah. I think what got me to that point was with just like a close friend of mine, and like we're very close, and we still are. But it was creating, I don't know what word to call it, distress in our friendship, because I was like looking at things through, I don't know if you guys like 3D glasses, like, and that makes everything look blue and red. So things looked like rejection to me that really weren't. And it was really frustrating to her. And like, we would talk things through, and like, yeah, nobody's perfect. So sometimes maybe I could interpret things correctly, but it just got really frustrating for her. And then I felt bad, and I was like, I don't know what to do, because this is actually how I'm seeing things, but I'm being told that it's not accurate. So I need a breakthrough kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I had seen it in it's not like that was the only place that I saw it, but simply because we were just around each other a lot, that's where it was coming out the most. And we're close. So there might have been like a specific incident, I don't really remember, but that was what I was like, I think I remember I was just like in my room, I was like, that's it, I'm fasting. And I remember I think I texted a different friend of mine who's also very close, and I was like, I probably asked her to pray, like, can you agree with me? Like, I'm fasting. This needs to get out of my life.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know what else happened. I don't know if this was before I started fasting, or yes, it was before I decided to fast. And it actually kind of scared me, but in a good way. The Lord gave me a picture of me turning 40, and this whole rejection issue was still a part of my life. I was like, it like scared me. Like, I was like, this isn't something that time is just gonna make go away, or I'm gonna grow out of, or whatever. I was like, if I don't intentionally deal with this, it's not gonna go away.
Wow. Wow. That's such a powerful awakening and a powerful awareness, and absolute truth, isn't it? But it's like taking accountability. I need to do something about this. And when you get caught up with, like, they need to change and this circumstance needs to change, and you looking external and everything else needs to change so that you feel okay, and then you don't. It's like at some point we have to take accountability for those emotions.
Yeah.
And while, the journey that we all experience is so uniquely different, isn't necessarily our fault. For you, being born into circumstances you were was not your fault, but you did embrace the responsibility of saying, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I want this out. I want this changed. So for some pieces, there is that deliverance need, and then some things it's like a reframing of our mindset. For you, what do you feel like? Has it been a mix of those things, or has it been, yeah?
Yeah, it's definitely been a mix. And that story of deliverance wasn't like, oh, this is the first time I'm attacking rejection. Kind of like I shared, I had done years of inner healing, counseling, all that kind of stuff, which helped, which brought a ton of freedom. But it was like, I still keep hitting this.
Yeah.
And so I realized, like, doing the same thing, if I keep doing the same thing and I'm keep whatever, like, the emotional part and the heart part got taken care of, and now I'm trying to use emotional tools and like heart tools on something that's not a heart issue anymore. It's a deliverance issue. And
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
that kind of like how I said, so that's almost what tripped me up, because I'm very much like heart healing, emotional healing, like that's like my forte, or not forte, my passion. Like, I would love to like talk about that all day, but it actually was tripping me up, because I would feel an emotion of rejection or whatever. So then I would be like, okay, like emotionally, like trying to dig or like use tools or whatever. And it wasn't getting me anywhere eventually, because what the Lord showed me, I was like, wow, that feeling isn't even my own. But I was just thinking it was my own. It was coming from
Yeah.
rejection. So I was trying to use emotional tools, which on something that wasn't even my emotion. It just needed to go.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, that's really quite an interesting dissection of the journey. I love
I
it.
mean, yeah, I never would have. It was literally, like I said, I was driving home, and all of a sudden it went and like
Yeah,
flashed in my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah. But what you'd done is you'd prepared your heart to receive. You prepared your mind. Your soul was in a place ready to say, I'm laying down. Time for the
Yeah.
spirit stuff to rise up and really be the thing that steers and drives in a pure, undefiled way, um, and to dig deep into that. That's just beautiful. And I've encountered a similar many times. Sometimes you're diligent, you fast, you pray, and the breakthrough seems to be elusive, and then something happens, and it might be weeks later, and I'm like, oh, where is that thing? It's not bothering me like it was. And just the consistency and the faithfulness to stay um, focused on what you need to do and not quit and not give up.
Yes.
And how many times I've thought, oh, I was so close, I was just about to ditch it all. And then this wouldn't have happened, in the way that it did happen.
Yeah. Can I share something else about that fast that just came to my mind?
Yeah.
So when I started fasting, like when I was like fed up with rejection, and I was just like, Lord, no more. Like you have to do something.
Mm.
And I remember then the first couple days I was like, I was praying, but I had this feeling inside, this sense feeling inside of me. I was like, there's something that I need to be praying. I don't even know what the words are. I could just feel it in my spirit. I was like, there's something that I need to be praying. But I don't even know what it is. But I know I'm not getting like the right words. Not that it's like all about what we say. I could just feel it. So I was like, Lord, what do you want me to pray? What do you want me to pray? And so one night I was laying in bed, and out of nowhere, I remembered I used to staff a ministry called David's Tent in Washington, D.C., which is 24/7 worship on the National Mall. And our director, he still is the director. His name's Jason Hershey. He like just came up with a prayer out of the cry of his heart, and we prayed it together during a corporate fast. And it says, Father, fill me anew with your agape love. Heal the deepest parts of who I am with who you are. Cleanse me of anything that takes me out of your house, and reveal to me all you have available, and grant me the faith to receive it. So I'm like, and this is years ago, probably 7 years ago, like that we had prayed that. And I'm laying in bed, and all of a sudden I'm like, that prayer from Jason. So I'm like, I get out of bed. I'm like looking under my bed to try to find it. And I found it. And I was like, that is it. That is what my spirit was sensing. So I started praying that daily. And so that aided to it. And then just continued praying it afterwards. And the Lord has honored it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, we are a spiritual temple. We are spiritual houses.
Yes.
Yeah, and as we engage with the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit leads us, guides us, reveals to us, counsels us, teaches us, and brings us into the revelation of what we need to see and know, that is just so incredibly powerful. Well, for you, what difference do you think it's made to your life now? With where you are, you're in this beautiful space where you boldly a few years ago embraced the counselling journey and all that meant, the study and the stepping into encouraging and supporting others on that healing journey. What difference has it made to you to know I truly encountered the Holy Spirit in my heart? I've found healing, and of course, we're never a finished work. But yeah, what's different? What's shifted?
There's so much more peace in my relationships. Like not when I say peace, it's like peace in my own heart. I mean, it probably is creating more peace for both parties, because then they're not as afraid that I'm going to like take something the wrong way.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, it's just created a lot more peace, because it's like the way that I think about it. It's like, imagine if you had like glasses on that was constantly um you saw like clips of a movie of like a car crashing into you. Of course you'd be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like similar. If you have like rejection glasses on, you see like danger coming, danger coming, danger coming.
Yes. You
So
anticipate it, don't you? You can't see it any other way.
exactly. And then it's like you react as if they did just crash a car into you. um so I like analogies, they help me understand things. So that's that's one of the biggest differences that I've noticed, that I'm able to, even like, I don't know, I'll just like hear someone talking, and I'll think to myself like, that used to make me feel this way, or that used to make me feel this way. And I'm still a work in progress, but I think that would be one of the big, it's like it's resulted in a lot more peace, because I'm seeing things rightly. Or
Yeah.
right.
I mean, just the peace it would bring not to be anticipating the crash every time something manifested or presented in front of you that had a slight resemblance of rejection.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So today, do you find you still might get triggered by rejection? Is it something that might Yeah. And so are you recognizing it like much earlier
Oh
before?
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely.
you do get an awareness of it. And then what do you do, in those times when you like, now you have a choice to put those rejection glasses back on, or to take them or keep them off, or they're no
Hmm.
longer existent. um yeah, what do you do if you get triggered by rejection these days?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think if it's like in a conversation with, like, I'm thinking about the friend who I was saying, like, when I was talking probably 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago, is like it was causing some friction in our relationship
Yeah.
just because we know each other so well. If like, which it doesn't happen, it hardly happens now where I'm like, oh, that was a rejection trigger. Like, we actually have to talk it through. Um, I think I do a few different things. Sometimes I talk myself, like in my head, I talk myself through something like,
You
okay,
counsel
Megan,
yourself.
huh?
You
Huh?
counsel yourself.
Yeah, I do. I like, exactly. And what I have found is it could, so something could still be hitting a place, not because there's anything wrong with what anyone did, but I'm like, okay, how do I explain this? So, okay, let's take an example. Maybe I see someone with their dad and I'm not I can talk myself through, like, Megan, there's no rejection. Like, I don't necessarily feel rejected by my dad in that moment. However, it's hitting a different place of like, I really am sad that I never got that. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it, if I feel a trigger, it almost can show me something else that needs healing, even if it might not be rejection on the surface. If that makes sense, it kind of leads me to something else. And then I also like talk myself through things. Like, I I have friends who are wired very differently than me, so
Mm.
I will I I've talked to myself before, like, okay, Megan, if you did that or said that, this is why you would be, but that's not how they're wired and they did not mean it like that. Cuz
Mm.
if it's one of my old mentors, she said, for some reason this like has stuck in my head for 10 years. She was talking about, I think it was like the demoniac that Jesus healed who was like running around naked. And she was like, once he got delivered, he like still had to learn how to button up a shirt. And I was like, to me, that was so profound because I was like, yeah, you get delivered, but you don't know what you don't know. You still have to be taught like
Yeah.
new, think a different way and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love how you said when you get triggered, sometimes it's not the rejection, but it's pointing to something else that needs healing. And that's just the part that we're an unfinished work. We're an unfinished soul that needs healing, because new circumstances come, new stages of life, new relational challenges, all of that brings out something else. But Megan, I just really appreciate being part of your journey and
Oh,
sharing some pieces of that, and for you sharing this today. Um, been a real treasure to see you flourish now in this field of even supporting and encouraging other women and men maybe on their journey. Yeah.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah, thank you. What a blessing that God crossed our paths in the way
I
that.
know, I know.
Yeah, and so thanks so much for sharing that today. The whole rejection story, I loved how you said you might be born with something, but it's not necessarily you. And rejection is something definitely that kicks in super, super early. If the enemy gets a chance, he will. Um, and how you've turned that around to now be able to embrace who you are and really step into your purpose and your destiny and be supporting and encouraging others. It's a real treasure. It's a
Thank
beauty
you.
to see. Well, thank you. I will let you go on with your evening. Have a blessed rest.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Wow. That's a precious woman that we met some years ago, and I love the way that Megan has just turned what could have been a life of rejection now to being a life of empowering others. Just so beautiful and so encouraging, and that's the story that can be anyone's story. It can be your story, because we don't have to live with the lies of rejection. And like Megan said, they come very early on in our years. In fact, even sometimes in the womb, you know, that rejection piece will try to kick in and bring us to believe that we're not worth being valued, treasured, and loved, that we're not worth being pursued and known and understood. And we can hide into our little hermit crab shells and try and forget that there's a big nasty world out there, but it diminishes us so much. It takes and robs us away from us really truly being who we are created to be, an unrepeated miracle, a unique unrepeated miracle of a beautiful soul that is to be revealed and fully expressed, so that we get to touch others in the world. And as you know, one of us takes that place, and another and another and another, and we step out of that root of rejection, and we start chopping down those roots and destroying the roots of rejection in our life. It's super amazing just how that can transform us and bring us into places where we just would never have anticipated we would be. I know for me, the root of rejection started super early in my life as well. And I didn't really understand how it was rejection. I just remember feeling like I could never do things right, and I could never quite be that person that was what my mum particularly would want me to be. And I didn't know until some years into my teenage years that my mother had suffered incredible rejection in her own life. And so this is a piece of sometimes the heart healing journey coming out of rejection, out of abandonment, that we need to deal with the generational part of it. So that generational piece was very much entrenched for me. My mum had not very willingly shared some stories, but little snippets of the stories that I would try to, you know, get out of her and elicit from her, started to help me to see, as I was on my healing journey, that she, in fact, had experienced deep rejection in her own life. And as we carry that as one generation, we pass it on to another without even any intentional design on our part. But as we carry that rejection and we live it out in our own lives, we're modeling it to our children, to our grandchildren. And so the pattern continues and the cycle continues. With part of what I've been blessed over the years to be able to put together, I've found that rejection and abandonment are two huge pieces in our journey that we need to encounter and we need to understand, and bring that healing piece, that revelation, that insight into our lives, so that we can see where it started, see where it kicked in, and then go right to the root of when that rejection started, of how that rejection began to manifest in our life. Now, I'm not sure with my technology glitches of late whether sharing my screen is a very smart way. So I'm just going to share with you this. I'll paste this in the link And if you would like to download the action sheet, then you can have a go at this yourself. But some of the ways, like we're talking about this rejection manifesting. So here's some of the ways that you might be living your life and not realizing that rejection is at the root of what you're doing. So people pleasing. People pleasing is a really big thing that comes from a root of rejection. Now, I'm not suggesting that every time you try and please somebody, you're coming out of a root of rejection. But if it's a pattern and you get into people pleasing to the extent that you're laying down your own well-being and you're getting into quite abusive sort of relationships, then rejection is quite likely the issue that is driving you to be people pleasing. Assuming that others are just thinking badly of you. You know, when you go into a space or a new environment or even ones you're familiar with, and you just think, oh, you know, they didn't think very well of me, that they didn't like me. That's often from a root of rejection. Finding it hard to be yourself, finding it hard to just be fully revealed as you, the true, authentic, genuine you. Trust issues, especially with your feelings, you know, that not feeling trusted, not being able to trust people. These are often coming from a root of rejection. As you work through this action sheet, you'll see many different things that could well be from the root of rejection in your life. As you fill out the sheet, I suggest that you get highlighters. You start with one side, the rejection side, and just work your way through. Work out where I am. Oh, there we go. Whoops. And then the last page, sort of processing a little bit about what times in my life have I felt rejected? What stages of my life can I see now, looking back, that rejection has been an issue for me? What experiences does that rejection connect to? For instance, with Megan, she has never known her biological dad. There was a lot going on for her mum in those years of becoming a single mum, and a lot of shame often comes with that sort of thing, particularly when you're in a religious setting. And so, you know, what was some of the experiences that you had that rejection, the root of rejection, might have started to manifest from? What are some of the memories? What are some of the memories connected to being rejected, not feeling known, not feeling understood, not feeling embraced for who you truly, truly are? What are some of the memories that you remember times? You know, you can document this and start to process some of it. And then what lie did you believe about yourself? Because it becomes a heart issue. Rejection becomes the root of some of the heart issues in our life, which are very often attached to a lie. What's the lie that I believed about myself? And so for me, over a large part of my healing journey early on, rejection was definitely a deep root in my life. And I found it hard to love myself. I found it hard to be happy to be myself. You know, especially when we're creative, and I am and have been a very creative soul. Sometimes we just don't connect well with even our parents or our families, because we're just a little different. And I did feel very different, and I did feel disconnected, and it brought me into times of depression, and it brought me into times of just, I remember in my teenage years desperately trying to not be that person, not be this person that didn't seem to be embraced in my family and my journey with my family. And you know, I tried so hard not to be that person. I tried everything, and it just didn't make me any happier. It didn't make me able to embrace the true, genuine, authentic me. So feeling unwanted, feeling you've got to prove yourself to others all the time, these are issues that the root of rejection how the root of rejection will manifest in our life. And as those things manifest, they become like Megan shared, that those glasses that everything you see gets filtered through the eyes of rejection. And when we live that way, we then have to self-protect, we disconnect from people. The fruit of living out of a filter of the root of rejection just brings separation. It brings separation from loved ones, from people that we want to be close to, we would love to be close to, but we just don't know how to get there. So I will attach that sheet to the comments of today's workshop podcast. The root of rejection, it's nasty, it's deep. It starts often very, very early. And interestingly, as Megan shared, the issue of rejection didn't really manifest hugely in a way to control her life until in her late teens. And that's very often the case, that while that root is there, while it's sitting there, it's got a right, a legal right for the enemy to come and just kick that door open and overrun our personality, overshadow who we truly are. And if the enemy can just stop us from really fully becoming the person we were created to be, that's enough for him. He might not try and kill you, but if he can kill your dreams, if he can kill your purpose, if he can kill you from stepping into, or stop you from stepping into your purpose and your destiny, then that's enough. That's enough. That's success on his part. And so I believe that every one of us has a true and powerful purpose on this earth. We have a piece that we contribute and bring to weave a beautiful fabric of wholeness and love and life into this world. And when that is compromised and we are overshadowed and we're not feeling free to be able to do that, then we start needing to investigate some heart issues. What are some of the issues deep in our heart that is stopping us from being who we truly, truly are, being fully revealed and fully expressed as the person we were created to be? Rejection has a way of shutting us down and causing us to compromise so much of who we can be and who we're called to be. The pain of it runs deep. It hurts. When we are rejected, or we feel that rejection, and we haven't brought healing to the root of it, it makes it incredibly hard to continue to walk in relationship with other people. It makes it really hard to continue to journey and love and be all that we potentially and possibly can be. It shuts us down. And I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for me. So the root of rejection is a deep root. It's a root that, until we bring healing and we lay the axe to the root, we will always feel that filter over our perception of rejection, and it separates, it divides. It's not a good, healthy place to be. So I will put this into the notes, this sheet, and basically as you go through both sides of the rejection and the abandonment, you might see that there's one thing that's more dominant for you than the other. And as Megan shared her story today, although she was abandoned by her father, the issue of rejection was probably the thing that had the deepest root for her that she's been able to really step into and bring healing to. And how precious and how amazing is it that the journey that she's been through now frames up an incredible platform for her to be able to speak into the lives of others. She knows how powerful healing can be. She knows how powerful deliverance can be. She's experienced it, and now she brings it into her world, into the sphere of influence, into the lives that the Lord brings into her sphere of influence. And that's just sums up the joy and the absolute awesomeness of bringing healing to these heart issues that run deep, heart issues that sometimes we, like Megan said, we think it's just our personality. We're just a person that other people don't like, or we're just a person that doesn't like other people. When we believe that we have become, we think that we're born with something and that's who we're going to be for the rest of our life. It's often not true. It's just not true. And understanding the lies that we've believed and where the wounds sit on our heart in respect to being rejected, and then out of being rejected, we will reject others. So how beautiful, how powerful, how amazing it is to bring healing to those wounds. So we no longer, wear the glasses of rejection, as Megan shared, and how she thought that the emotions of rejection were her. She was living out of this rejected space, thinking all of these feelings and these emotions she carried were in fact who she was. But thanks be to God, who goes ahead of us, opens the doors, paves the way, brings people into our lives that can encourage us and exhort us to run the race of who we were truly created to be and unlock that God-given destiny for us. So today I'm really appreciative to Megan for sharing some of her time, and bless you, Megan. I'm just encouraged to see how the doors opened for her, and stepping into a place of counselling was a courageous step for her, but she did it. She stepped and she took it, and now today she is able to bless others with what the healing she's experienced in her life, and then filtering it through to bless others. So that can be you. You can be that person. You can be that person that turns and takes accountability for any rejection that might be in your life, any root of rejection that might be sitting there for you. And as we do that and we just turn and face it, when we face the thing we fear, we overcome it. When we face the thing that seems to be haunting us and coming back round and round and round and pulling us down, when we face those things, then we are ready to make some powerful shifts in our life, to bring that transformation, to bring that healing, to redeem those spaces. So I just want to encourage you that if you wonder if rejection might be an issue in your life, download the action sheet that I'll put in the links today and see where you sit with it. And then there's a few helpful strategies to just work through. Journaling is an incredibly powerful thing. Metacogging is another very powerful thing, which is on my YouTube channel. Dr. Caroline Leaf uses that principle and that tool very powerfully in helping you to shift your mindsets and change the things that you believe that have been lies into truth, and living out of the truth, because it's the truth that sets us free. When we live out of the truth, we're living in freedom, even though sometimes the truth can be incredibly hard to turn and face and embrace. But you can do it. I've done it, and I continue to do it. It's my journey of life. And same for Megan. She's done it. She's doing it. She continues to. And you can as well. You don't have to stay in those places of being disempowered and just not equipped to be able to bring healing to the issues of your heart. And as we bring healing to the issues of our heart, we bring incredible healing even to our body, because our soul, as our soul prospers, so will our health. We will be in health as our soul prospers, our soul being our mind, our will, our emotions. As this part of us prospers, as we bring healing into that emotional space, as we bring healing into our heart, we will see an incredible shift in even the very well-being of our body, and be able to live in a much healthier, robust, stronger place. And for that, I'm truly grateful in my own life. Well, be blessed, take care, and next week is Good Friday, so I will skip next week and be back in 2 weeks' time. Look forward to catching you then. Love you and take care.